I'm staring at it right now. A cheap black VHS tape. No case, just a strip of peeling white tape across the front with shaky handwriting that reads, SpongeBob, do not air. The words are faint, written in a faded red Sharpie, the kind that bleeds when it gets damp. The edges of the cassette are sticky, grimy, like it's been touched by too many hands, passed along quietly from one place to another, never meant to settle anywhere. I don't know why it ended up with me. There's a smell clinging to it, too. You know how old electronics have that weird static smell? Dust mixed with burnt wires, like ozone before a storm? That's what hit me the second I pulled it out of the box. My fingers tingled when I held it, as if it carried some kind of charge, though the TV wasn't even on yet. And here's the thing. I shouldn't be telling you this. Honestly, I've debated whether to record this at all, because once you know what I know, you can't unknow it. If this post disappears, if my account suddenly goes dark after you hear this, then you'll understand why. Someone, or something, doesn't want this story out there. But it's too late. The second I pressed play, I crossed a line I can't walk back from. At first glance, you'd probably think it's just a dumb tape. Maybe some unaired pilot, maybe a rough cut that never made it past Nickelodeon censors. But that's the problem. This wasn't an innocent, unfinished episode. It wasn't meant to be seen by kids, or by anyone at all. This wasn't entertainment. It was a test. You remember SpongeBob, right? Saturday mornings, sitting cross-legged on the carpet, a bowl of cereal balanced on your lap, laughing at the nonsense and the squeaky voices. That's what they sold us. Bright colors, stupid jokes, a harmless sponge living in a pineapple under the sea. It's safe. It's wholesome. It's childhood. But imagine that same sponge stripped of everything that made him safe, twisted into something ugly, wrong, and raw. Imagine an episode so far removed from what we thought we knew that it doesn't even feel like a cartoon anymore. That's what I'm holding in my hands right now. And the truth is, Nickelodeon didn't just lock it away because it was too scary or too experimental. They buried it because it showed something we weren't supposed to see. Something about SpongeBob that was never meant to air because it wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. This tape is proof. Proof that someone used SpongeBob, not as a show, not as a joke, but as a tool. And every second it runs, it eats away at you, gnaws at some quiet corner of your brain like it's trying to leave a mark. I'll get to that. I'll explain exactly what I saw, what I heard, and why I can't sleep anymore. But before I do, before I drag you any deeper into this mess, you need to understand how I even found the damn thing in the first place. What if you found the SpongeBob episode no one was ever supposed to see? That's the thought that kept spinning in my head the night I stumbled onto the tape. Looking back now, I should have just laughed it off and left it where it was. But when you're face to face with something you know wasn't meant for you, curiosity doesn't just knock. It kicks the door down. It started at this estate sale. A former Nickelodeon employee had died. Nothing mysterious about that. Just old age, according to the little obituary taped up at the door. His family was clearing out boxes of junk, old props, cassettes, film reels, half-broken electronics. The kind of stuff collectors drool over. I wasn't really hunting for treasure, but when I saw the stack of VHS tapes shoved in milk crates, I couldn't resist digging through. Most of them were exactly what you'd expect, backups of kids' shows. Rough cuts with labels like Rugrats, Temp Edit, or Rocket Power Pilot. A few were taped over episodes of Seinfeld and local news. Nothing rare, nothing valuable. Then, at the bottom of one crate, I found it. The tape was wedged sideways, like it didn't belong. Unlike the others, it had no proper case, no printed label. Just that strip of white tape with smeared red writing. SpongeBob, do not air. At first, I thought it was a joke. You'd be surprised how often nerds scribble banned or uncut on a VHS just to make it feel edgy. But this one felt different. I picked it up, and immediately, I noticed something was off. The plastic was heavier than it should have been, like there was more inside it than just a strip of tape. The reels rattled when I tilted it, not smoothly like a normal cassette, but with a stuttering resistance, as if the tape itself didn't want to move. And there was something deliberate about the label, like it had been written in a hurry, then half scratched off, as if someone regretted putting it there at all. Dude, it's probably just some unaired pilot, my friend Josh said. He was standing behind me, arms crossed, already bored with the whole thing. I laughed it off, but inside, my pulse had picked up. Yeah, but think about it. This could be the holy grail of lost media. People obsess over this kind of stuff. Imagine if this was the real deal. Josh rolled his eyes. Or imagine it's 90 minutes of static and we just wasted $5. He wasn't wrong. Most banned episodes turn out to be nothing but hype. But something about this one wouldn't let go of me. The edges were worn, the plastic faintly tacky, as though too many nervous hands had held it before mine. It looked traveled, passed along, maybe even hidden. I ended up buying the box of tapes for a couple bucks. Nobody else cared, not even the guy running the sale. He shrugged when I held it up and said, "Take it, just get it out of here." That should have been my first warning. The way he said it, flat, impatient, like he didn't want it in his house any longer than necessary. But I told myself it was nothing. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Driving home, though, the tape sat on the passenger seat like a passenger itself. I kept glancing at it at red lights, as if it might move. My mind kept circling back to the label. Do not air. Not unaired. Not rough cut. That's the language of someone issuing a warning, not a note for the archives. I'll admit, my cynicism fought hard against the growing unease. I thought maybe I'd lucked into something legendary, something that collectors and Reddit forums had whispered about for years. Lost media is like treasure hunting, and the idea that I could have found a forbidden SpongeBob tape? It was intoxicating. My brain buzzed with possibilities. Maybe it was the infamous Squidward's suicide tape, or something even darker, never leaked online. But there was another voice, quieter, gnawing at the edges of my thoughts. What if there was a reason no one had seen this? What if Do Not Air wasn't a note to producers, but a warning to anyone stupid enough to try? I told myself I'd only watch the first few minutes, just to confirm it was nothing. A prank, a test reel, maybe even some bored intern's experiment. That's all, just enough to satisfy my curiosity. But curiosity doesn't stop when you feed it. It only grows hungrier. And when I finally pressed that tape into the player and saw the screen flicker to life, I realized too late that I'd invited something into my home I couldn't take back. IT was late when I finally decided to watch it. My apartment was dark except for the blue glow of the TV screen, the kind of hour where silence feels heavier, where even the hum of the refrigerator seems too loud. I sat cross-legged on the couch, the tape clutched in my hand like some cursed relic. My rational brain told me I was being stupid. At worst, this would be some goofy test footage, a SpongeBob rough cut with unfinished animation. But there was something else, a pull, like the tape wanted me to watch it. Sliding it into the VCR, I heard the clunk of the machine swallowing it whole, the software of gears pulling the tape into place. The screen crackled with static, that hiss that used to fill living rooms in the 90s, before bright colors and laugh tracks replaced it. For a second, I almost turned it off right there. But then the picture snapped into focus, and SpongeBob appeared. IT started. Normal. Almost too normal. Bright yellow sponge, SquarePants, the familiar pineapple house. The intro theme kicked in with the bouncing pirate voice. Are you ready, kids? The chorus of children responded, though it sounded strangely muffled, like someone recorded it from another room. The melody dragged slightly, the rhythm warped as if the tape was playing just a fraction slower than it should. I brushed it off as tape degradation. Old VHS always did weird things. Still, the images pulled at something deep inside me. Nostalgia. Childhood. Saturday mornings when everything felt safe and silly. But the longer I watched, the more it felt like I was looking at a wax figure version of my memories. Everything was just a little off. SpongeBob's laugh was pitched too high, distorted at the edges, stretching seconds longer than it should. The colors bled into each other, yellows too bright, blues almost glowing. The episode opened with SpongeBob waking up in bed. Classic start. Alarm clock ringing, him shooting upright with that stupid grin plastered on his face. But the pause before he moved was too long. He lay there, stiff, staring at the ceiling with wide, unblinking eyes. The grin didn't twitch, didn't shift, just froze in place like a mask. And when he finally sat up, the sound lagged half a beat behind, so his laugh didn't match the movement of his mouth. That I leaned forward, telling myself it was just bad syncing. Old tapes warped, that was all, but the background didn't move. The pineapple interior was there, bright and cartoonish, but the animation looped wrong. The flowers on the wallpaper shifted back and forth, repeating every few seconds, like a glitching GIF. It was hypnotic, unsettling. like staring too long at something that wasn't meant to be studied. SpongeBob got out of bed, but instead of walking to the door, he just stood there. Seconds ticked by, too many for a kid's cartoon. His eyes didn't blink. His chest didn't rise. He simply stared at the screen, at me. I muttered to myself, "What the hell is this?" Then he spoke. His voice was the same nasal pitch, but warped, like someone had dragged a nail across a record. "Good morning, Bikini Bottom," he said, each word stretched, vowels pulled longer than natural. And then silence. No music, no laugh track, just SpongeBob, still staring forward, as if waiting for me to answer. A chill went through me. I told myself again, it's just a pilot, an unfinished draft, maybe some test footage. That's why the timing was wrong, why the characters weren't moving properly. But in my gut, I knew it wasn't that simple. The scene shifted, or maybe glitched. The transition was abrupt, a single frame of static before SpongeBob was suddenly at the Krusty Krab. But the restaurant was empty. No Mr. Krabs, no Squidward, no customers. Just SpongeBob behind the counter, smiling that same plastered grin. The background looped again, flickering neon sign in the window, repeating the same flicker every few seconds like a metronome. I watched as he picked up a spatula and held it. Not flipping patties, not singing, just holding it, his smile never faltering, his eyes wide and wet. The silence stretched so long I could hear the static buzz of the tape under the image. My throat went dry, then came the sound. Not music, not laughter, whispers. Low, indecipherable voices, layered beneath the silence like someone had hidden them in the audio. I pressed the volume up, straining to hear, but the words tangled together, impossible to separate. And yet, I could swear they were names. Real names. I stopped the tape. My hand hit the eject button almost without thinking, and the screen snapped back to static. My chest heaved, and I realized I'd been holding my breath. It was stupid, ridiculous, even. Just a messed up tape, probably never meant to be finished, probably a glitchy test reel. If that's what I told myself as I set the tape on the table. I even laughed a little, shaking my head. "Get a grip," I whispered. "It's just SpongeBob." But even as I tried to convince myself, I couldn't stop glancing at the black cassette sitting in front of me, heavy and silent. Because deep down, I knew I hadn't seen a normal SpongeBob episode. I'd seen something else, something wrong. And as much as I wanted to leave it there, to never touch it again, my hands itched with the urge to put it back in. Because part of me, some sick, gnawing part, needed to know what happened next. I should have turned it off then. I didn't. The thing about curiosity is that it doesn't die when you smother it, it multiplies. All night, I thought about the tape, replaying those frozen smiles, that warped laugh, those whispers threading under the silence. By morning, I'd convinced myself it was nothing more than a glitchy prototype. Creepy, sure, but not dangerous. Just unfinished work. That's what I told myself as I slid the tape back into the player the next night. This time, it didn't start the same way. No cheerful alarm clock, no bounding sponge springing out of bed. Instead, SpongeBob was still lying there. Same angle, same close-up on his face. His eyes wide, unblinking, his grin plastered tight as though nailed in place. Seconds stretched into minutes. I kept waiting for the alarm, the music, anything. Nothing came. I leaned forward, muttering, "Come on, do something." That's when I noticed the window. Behind SpongeBob's bed, past the faded curtains, a shape pressed against the glass. Round, pink, unmistakable. Patrick. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stared inside with that same frozen smile. His eyes bulged, glassy and wet, almost too real that I felt the muscles in my stomach tighten. The shot held longer than it should have. Far, far longer. There's a rhythm to cartoons, a cadence that carries you from one beat to the next. This was broken, stretched out like old gum until it felt wrong, obscene. SpongeBob never moved. Patrick never blinked. The frame just held, silent, and then the audio returned. Only it wasn't right. It started as muffled whispers, so faint I thought it was bleed through from another channel. But the longer I listened, the clearer it became. Multiple voices, speaking too fast, overlapping each other. The words weren't in English, or maybe they were, just distorted beyond comprehension. Subtitles appeared at the bottom of the screen, blocky white letters, but they were gibberish. Random strings of characters, as if someone had mashed a keyboard. I remember laughing, bitterly. Guess Nickelodeon's budget ran out for subtitles, I said under my breath. The sound shaky in the empty room, but the laughter died fast. Because beneath the whispers, faint but distinct, I heard something else. Screams. Realistic. Ragged screams, like someone being hurt, far away but captured by a bad microphone. They cut through the cartoon silence like glass under bare feet. That MY hand hovered near the eject button. I wanted to stop it, but I didn't. I couldn't. My pulse thundered in my ears as SpongeBob finally twitched. Slowly, unnaturally, his head turned toward the camera. The smile never changed, but his eyes rolled sideways, locking with mine. And then, in that same distorted voice from before, he spoke. Go back. To sleep. The words dragged out, warbled, almost swallowed by static. My breath caught in my throat. It didn't sound like SpongeBob. It didn't sound like a voice actor at all. It sounded like someone trying to force words through a broken speaker. The frame stuttered. A flash of Patrick's face, pressed close against the glass now, mouth open wider than it should have gone, frozen mid-scream, but with no sound. Back to SpongeBob. Then black dot. I sat there staring at the screen, waiting for it to cut to credits, for the tape to spit itself out, for anything that made sense. But the tape wasn't done with me. The black screen lingered, and slowly, text scrawled across it in shaky white letters. Episode 00, Sleep. It wasn't a title card. It was a warning. When the video resumed, the setting had shifted again, back to SpongeBob's bedroom. Only this time, the walls looked wrong. Too textured, too detailed. Not flat, not cartoony. Like someone had layered real footage under the animation. His bed sagged as though made of real fabric. The shadows shifted like they'd been filmed, not drawn. That was the moment it hit me. This didn't feel like animation anymore. It felt recorded. I muttered, "What the hell is this?" But my voice sounded too loud in the room, as if I wasn't supposed to speak during it. SpongeBob lay back down, eyes still wide. The whispers rose again, layered thicker now, closer, pressing at my ears until I wanted to cover them. The subtitles returned, still gibberish, but now flickering faster, as if they were desperately trying to keep up with words not meant to be transcribed. And then the laugh track began. At first, it was the familiar canned laughter, the same one you'd hear in dozens of old episodes. But it didn't fit. No jokes had been made, no punchlines delivered. The laughter rose and fell mechanically, looping in places, jittering like it had been spliced together wrong. And under it, faint but growing, those screams continued. Not laugh-like at all. Ragged, human, real. I froze. My mouth went dry, and I couldn't move. It felt like the tape had its claws in me, like if I stopped watching something worse would happen. When the screen cut again, it wasn't to credits. It was SpongeBob, still lying in bed, the camera closer now, zooming in slow. His face filled the screen. His eyes were wet, twitching slightly, too human. The grin never moved. I pressed pause. My thumb trembled on the remote. My entire body screamed at me to stop, eject, throw the tape away. But my brain, my sick, gnawing curiosity, wouldn't let me. Because I knew, somehow, that this wasn't the end. And even now, I can tell you this much. The final scene, the one I forced myself to sit through later, is what still keeps me up at night. What still makes me afraid of static screens. But I'll get to that. For now, all I could think, staring at that frozen grin, was, why was this made at all? You'd think after what I'd seen, I'd have burned the tape, buried it, something. But no, the human brain is a cruel animal. It mistakes horror for hunger. By morning, I was already at my laptop, trying to claw some explanation out of the internet. I started where everyone starts. Lost media forums. You know the ones, the dusty corners of Reddit and old message boards where people hunt down unaired pilots, regional ad spots, weird forgotten kids shows. The kind of places where nostalgia and obsession bleed into each other. I typed the only clue I had. SpongeBob episode 00 Sleep. Nothing. Then I tried variations. SpongeBob bed episode, unaired SpongeBob tape, Nickelodeon forbidden episode. That's when the first hit came back. A dead thread from 2014. No images, just a title. Don't watch the bed episode. My heart jumped. I clicked. The post was short, written by a deleted account. If you find the tape, don't play it. It's not a cartoon. It's not for you. The replies were mostly memes, eye roll emojis, people joking about Creepypasta. But one user, buried deep in the thread, had left a string of numbers and letters. A cipher? GPS coordinates? I copied it down, not even sure why I kept digging. Another forum, this one dedicated to Nickelodeon history. Buried on page 17 of a discussion about unreleased pilots was a single comment. Nick employees warned us. That tape was for testing only. It was never meant to be broadcast. Testing what? I scrolled harder, faster, like the answer was just a few pixels further down. Every breadcrumb led to more rumors. Some said it was a subliminal experiment, testing how long kids could watch before they looked away. Others whispered about psychological pattern disruption, a technique tied to old government programs. I saw the name Mkultra pop up more than once, usually dismissed as a joke, but then I found the post that stopped me cold. A private message, not even a comment. It hit my inbox just minutes after I'd left a question on a Creepypasta sub. No username, just Anon. The text read, "Stop asking about it. You're being watched." I stared at it, my throat dry. Was it a troll? Probably. But as I sat there, a flicker of static cut across my laptop screen. Just a quick ripple, like an old VHS glitch. My speakers hissed for a second, then went silent. That I laughed nervously, trying to shake it off. Cool, guess my Wi-Fi's haunted now, I muttered. But my phone buzzed on the desk. When I picked it up, the screen glitched, just for a heartbeat, a white and black smear of pixels, like an old TV tuning to dead air. That I put it down, palms sweaty. Okay, I whispered. Coincidence. Just coincidence. Still, I couldn't stop scrolling. My search history became a graveyard of paranoia, subliminal children's programming, lost Nickelodeon test footage, and culture media experiments. Each link opened 100 more. Most dead, some archived, some wiped clean except for a single phrase repeated like a mantra. Don't watch the bed episode. I barely noticed how quiet my apartment had become, or how late it was getting. The screen's glow felt colder, like it was pulling me closer. I kept refreshing, convinced that somewhere out there someone had answers. And then, because I'm a fool, I turned my camera on and addressed you. Some of you probably know the thread I'm talking about. I said to my subscribers later that night, voice tight but excited. If you've heard of the bed episode, drop a comment. I need to know I'm not alone in this. Even as I said it, part of me knew I was inviting something in. FOMO does that. It turns fear into a dare. That I closed the laptop and sat in the dark. My phone screen flickered again, showing the last still of SpongeBob's face. Only I hadn't opened any images. The static hissed faintly from the TV across the room. Even though it wasn't on, I should have stopped. Should have smashed the tape, deleted my searches, gone outside. Instead, my eyes drifted back to the VHS sitting on the shelf. By the time the clock hit 3:17 a.m. I'd already decided that I was going to watch it again. And that's when things really started to go wrong. That I should have stopped. God knows I should have. But that tape had sunk its hooks into me, and when I pressed play for the third time, the VHS didn't start with SpongeBob's Pineapple. It started with a title card, white block letters on black, shaking ever so slightly, like they'd been written by an unsteady hand. Episode 00, Sleep. Oh, cheerful theme song. No bubbles, no ukulele strum, just silence thick enough to feel like it was pressing against my eardrums. Then, SpongeBob. He wasn't in his bed this time. He wasn't in Bikini Bottom at all. He was just standing, alone, in a black void. His outline flickered, stretched, melted like wax before snapping back again. His eyes were too wide, pupils shrunken to dots, and his chest rose and fell with slow, exaggerated breaths. That I leaned forward, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Then, without warning, Patrick appeared beside him. Only Patrick wasn't smiling. His face sagged, one eye drooping lower than the other, as if he were half melted. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He just stared at SpongeBob. Another figure emerged from the darkness, Squidward, but his clarinet was bent, twisted like rebar pulled from a fire. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. When he turned his head, his skin, or whatever passed for skin, slid unnaturally, like it didn't quite fit his skull. And then the whispers began, faint at first, tucked beneath a low hum. Dozens of voices, overlapping, too many to follow. But every so often, I caught one clearly. They weren't saying cartoon lines. They were saying names, real names, not characters. People. I heard Thomas. I heard Marissa. I swear I heard my own name. 2. Threaded among the whispers like a needle sliding through fabric, the screen jittered, the colors bleeding into red. And for just a fraction of a second, text flashed in the void, white on black. Too quick to read, but my brain still caught it. Wake up. I blinked hard, thinking I'd imagined it. But then it flashed again, longer this time. A single word, over and over. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. The characters turned their heads, all at once, like puppets tugged by the same string. Their faces glitched, distorted, until SpongeBob was the only one left clear on the screen. And then he turned toward me, not the camera, me. His eyes filled the frame, wide and quivering. And for the first time in this whole nightmare, he spoke directly. His voice was SpongeBob's, but wrong. Too low, stretched like a record dragging under a dying needle. Why are you still watching? The words rattled through me like a physical shove. My breath caught, my stomach clenched, and then something happened that broke every rule of comfort I had left. Their eyes changed, not cartoon eyes, not ink and paint. Real eyes, human eyes, bloodshot whites, pupils dilating, lids twitching, inserted into those yellow sponges and pink starfish like stolen parts. They blinked, wet and jerky, too real to dismiss. I gagged, clapped my hand to my mouth. But I couldn't look away. The laughter track returned, faint, distorted, but behind it was something else. Screams, not animated yelps. Realistic, wet, ragged screams. It was like someone had recorded people in pain and layered it under the cartoon giggles. The screen cut to static, harsh and blinding, and I thought maybe, finally, it was over. But then the snow cleared, and I realized I wasn't looking at animation anymore. It was live action. Moored, cold steel tables, plastic curtains swaying gently, shapes beneath white sheets. The camera panned slowly, almost lovingly, as though someone wanted me to memorize the layout. Every few seconds, the SpongeBob laugh played over it, faint and mocking, like it was the punchline to a joke I couldn't understand. My body reacted before my mind did. My stomach lurched, while rising in my throat. My nose burned, then dripped, hot, metallic blood spattering onto my shirt. My hands trembled so hard I could barely steady myself. But still, I didn't hit stop. I just watched as the sheet nearest the camera twitched. Just slightly. I screamed, loud, hoarse, raw, and slammed the power button. The screen went black, and I tore the tape from the visor so violently the plastic cracked. But I was too late. The images had burned themselves into me. Even with the TV dead and the room silent, I could still hear the whispers. Still see those eyes, human eyes, in cartoon faces. Still hear SpongeBob's warped voice asking me why I hadn't looked away. I won't describe everything I saw. Not here. Not now. Some things are better left unspoken. But I can't unsee it. And neither will you. Because now you're part of it. Tooted. My hands shook as I carried the tape to the sink, doused it in lighter fluid, and struck a match. The plastic bubbled, warped, screamed as it melted, filling the air with acrid smoke. I smashed the remains with a hammer until nothing but black shards and ash were left. But even then, even after the tape was gone, the static still buzzed faintly in my ears. And when I closed my eyes that night, all I saw was SpongeBob, leaning closer, whispering, "Why are you still watching? I thought burning the tape would end it. That's what you're supposed to do, right? You destroy the cursed object, and it sets you free." But the morning after, my apartment TV, unplugged, flashed static for a full 3 seconds before dying again. I laughed it off. Or tried to. Phantom charge, I told myself. Old wiring. But the next day, I caught it happening again. This time on my phone. I'd opened TikTok, and for a split second before a video loaded, there it was, black and white snow and a single word, flickering across the screen like a subliminal "a deed at sleep." It started small. The bathroom mirror fogging over with faint lines that looked like a sponge's silhouette. A toy SpongeBob at a thrift store grinning with real human teeth. Probably a bad mod someone made, but it still made my stomach twist. People wearing yellow at the bus stop. Coincidence after coincidence, but all carrying the same whisper beneath them. Sleep. I barely slept myself. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt him leaning closer, just out of sight. The faint squeak of wet sponges against tile, the low drag of laughter under my pillow. First, I tried telling my friends. I showed them screenshots of the static flashes, told them about the whispers. They chuckled nervously, said I needed a break from the internet. One by one, they stopped responding to my messages. Some blocked me. Others sent a final text like a resignation letter. Dude, this isn't funny anymore. I posted about it on my channel instead. If this video disappears, I said into the camera, voice trembling, you'll know they found me. You'll know this is real. The comments were a mess. Half thought it was the best ARG they'd ever seen. The other half begged me to stop, warning me I was feeding it. And then the emails started .at first. They looked like spam. Unmarked addresses, broken English. But one came with a subject line that froze me. Nick Studios, final notice. The body of the email was blank except for a single sentence. Cease all mention of episode 00, sleep. I deleted it immediately, heart hammering. Another arrived the next morning. This one had an attachment. I didn't open it. I unplugged my laptop, took the battery out, turned off my phone. But still, screens around me flickered. Random televisions in public, airports, lobbies, bars, would sputter into static when I passed. I started catching glimpses of something yellow at the edge of my vision. Not a cartoon, not even a man in a costume. Just a shape, low and square, ducking out of sight when I turned. Paranoia isn't even the right word. It was more like familiarity, like a smell from childhood you can't quite place, but know you've smelled before. One night, I woke up to find my own reflection grinning at me. Not smiling, grinning, lips stretched wide while my real face stayed blank. I smashed the mirror. The next morning there was a note under the shards. 3 words, scratched into the paper like claws. Why still watching? You're probably thinking you'd do better. That you'd stop, run, call the cops, whatever. But you won't. Because now you're wondering. You're curious. You're thinking about searching for it. Maybe just to see if I'm making it up. That's how it works. That's how it spreads. Contrast is funny like that. I'm here warning you while you're already opening another tab. I can feel it. That itch at the back of your brain. That low hum under the silence that I'm stuck in it now. In the loop. Every time I close my eyes, I see the title card again. Episode 00, sleep. And every time I wake up, something else has changed. That I'm not saying this for sympathy. I'm saying it because I don't know how much longer my videos will stay up. If this one vanishes without explanation, you'll know they found me. Or worse, you'll know he did. Because when I glance at my darkened laptop screen, just before it times out, I can see him standing behind me, yellow, silent, waiting, and sometimes, when the static rises in my ears, I swear I can hear him whisper, "Wake up. I need you to listen carefully now. I don't care if you've laughed at everything I've said or written me off as another creepypasta junkie. What I saw was real. What I'm living through is real. And if you value your sanity, don't search for it. Don't go looking for the tape, because the truth is, it isn't just one tape. That was the worst part to discover. In the threads I found, there were whispers about others. Different shows, different titles, all marked 00, all hidden, all waiting for someone curious enough or stupid enough to press play. And if you've watched this far, if you're still here with me, then you're exactly the kind of person they're meant for. Please, I don't have much time left. My channel's already being flagged. My emails keep getting bounced back from empty servers. Every day, the static lingers longer. Sometimes I swear it seeps into this very recording. I'll play it back, and underneath my own voice, I hear the hiss. Maybe you can hear it right now. A faint crackle threads through the silence, just for a breath, almost like the tape itself bleeding into the audio. If your screen glitches tonight, if your TV flickers, or your phone hums when you're trying to sleep, don't answer it. Don't acknowledge it. Pretend you didn't notice. That's the only way you might be safe. Because once you let it in, it never leaves. So this is my final warning. Comment below if you've ever heard of episode 00. Share what you know before it's too late. And if this video disappears, if I disappear, you'll know why. Just remember one thing. If your TV flickers tonight, don't answer it.